Don't forget to click that subscribe and bell icon to receive a notification each time I upload a new video. Hi everyone, it's Mike here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So it's time for a brand new ArtsyTrio video collaboration. And once again, I'm working with both B. Grob in Switzerland and Gina Ahrens in the US to collaborate on a central mood board. So B has created the mood board for this month, entitled La Vie en Rose. So there's lots of pinks and purples and a few colours that I'm not all that enamoured with, but I'm still going to persevere and work with them and use the mood board to create my piece. But I'm going to be doing something a little bit different for me. I've discovered that my printer will print onto tracing paper. So that's opened up a few little avenues of exploration and a few new ways in which to create some art. So I'm going to turn over to my overhead camera, I'll show you the mood board and then I'll explain what I'm going to do. So this is the mood board that B has created for, well, it's actually for February, because January's was done in December. We always work a month in advance. So actually this is for February. So I've looked at the colour blocks that she's put on there and I've gone through my paint collection and I've kind of found 4 colours that are very, very similar to what she's chosen. So there are 3 kind of dusky purples, if you like, in there. I'm not kind of enamoured with magentas too much, and I did do the magenta in the mood board for last month when I did my altered paintbrush. So I'm going to kind of ignore those 3 and take these as my colour palette for the next coming month. So I've got 3 colours from Deco Art Americana. So I've got Morning Mist, which is almost they're almost exact matches. This top right hand corner one is Orchid, and the bottom one there, which is a little bit darker, but I have got some white paint that I can add to it, is Desert Cactus or Dessert Cactus. The one darker purple here, now this is from Indigo Blue. So this is a colour called Wimbury Pie. Yeah, I'm not sure what a Wimbury is. Apparently it's a Lancashire thing, and being a Yorkshire lad, I wouldn't know anything about that. So that's the Wimbury Pie from Indigo Blue. And as you can see, I've never even opened it yet. It's still got its cellophane on. So those are the 4 colours that I'm going to be working on for my project for this month. So as I was saying, I discovered that my printer, purely by accident, will print onto tracing paper. Now it's just the bog standard tracing paper that you buy in packs. So this is the stuff, not rice paper, not tissue paper, but tracing paper. So it's fairly thin and you can see through it, which is the key really to what I wanted to do. Now I had put a couple of sheets of ordinary photocopier paper into the machine, and there was a sheet of this in between, and it printed on it and it had no problems doing it. So it really did kind of like open my eyes to what I could be doing. So I'm going to work with a picture of Michelangelo's David. This is the picture. So this is what it looks like, just printed out on ordinary cardstock. But I've printed it because you can see that the image itself is too big to fit onto this A4 paper. His hair is cut off just there and his hands cut off just there, and also is missing the back of his hair there because it won't fit on to a piece of A4, metric A4 paper, which is what we use here in the UK. I could squeeze it so it did fit, but I'd end up with a really small Michelangelo's David, and I wanted a large Michelangelo's David. So instead what I've done is I've printed it 3 times in different positions at the same size, but just moved the image a lot across and then printed all 3 of them out on the tracing paper, and then I've cut them out into sections. So let me just pull those out and then I'll show you exactly what I mean. There we go. So that was kind of like the original. So the main image I printed out, as you can see, fits just within that border, but is missing. Let me just see if I can zoom out a little bit. Just hang on a sec. There we go, you can see that better. So it's kind of missing his hair there and he's missing his hair there. So I printed it again so that I had the rest of his hair up there. Actually, that fits up there, I think, up there somewhere. That's it, so that fits more like up there. So then I've got that section. And then also I wanted this bit here, so I printed it again and did a big overlap piece. And because you can see through it, you can line it up almost perfectly. Now I've got the full image of his head. Almost kind of like pop art in its look because of the way that I've printed it from the original photograph. So that gave me the idea of what I wanted to do for this image. Okay, so the first thing that I've done is I've taken those two pieces and I've flipped them over onto the back. And I've grabbed some Dina Wakley white gesso. I'm just going to crack that open. I haven't had this open for a while, so I'm hoping it's still going to be okay. Yes, that's fine. And I'll just use the lid as the palette. And I've got some new paintbrushes. These are 12-piece artist paintbrush set that I got from Indigo Blue the last time I was there. So these have their they've got these on their website. But while I had a chance to be down there the other day at the store, I grabbed a set while I was there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to very gently, I'm going to paint the back of David's eyes. You can barely see what we've got there, but I'm just going to paint just gently over the back. I'll do the same on this side and then I'm going to let that dry. A little bit of white paint over there. So you can see how it's actually come through. You can see the colour through the paper. Probably can't see much at this side, so I'm going to put in a little bit on there. If I flip that one over, you can see he's got very white eyes just there. So when that's now laid over the top, that should pop and stand out a little bit. Okay, so that's just the white. I'm going to grab some water, clean off the paintbrush, let that dry for a second, and then I'll be right back. It looks like some kind of science fiction thing, doesn't it? It's got almost like he's got laser eyes. Okay, I've now got a full house. I've got the dog with me, who's chewing his way through a rawhide chewy, and Mr. Ian, who's on the computer. Say hello. Hello. There you go. Right, so next layer, seeing as the white is dry, is I've got that lighter morning mist. So I'm going to take some of that colour, I'll give it a shake just to make sure the binder in the paint is all nice and dry. And I'm just going to take some of that and we're going to go over just that area that you can see above the eyebrows. Now, I don't know whether this is bright enough paint colour for it to make too much of a difference, and you know, when it to make it see through, if you know what I mean. So just take that down there. I'm not going to paint his lips, not yet anyway. So this may be too much of a subtle shade, you might not get a lot of contrast behind it. Let me just lift it up and I'm going to be able to flip it up. Oh, I've just rolled into the paint, look, typical. Yeah, it might be a bit too light. I think it's a bit too much like grey, to be honest. Okay, so if that's the case, let's just give the other paint a quick shake up and add a bit of that into it, just to kind of pinkify it up a little bit, but not by a huge amount. Now, because I've already put the paint down and it's sort of dried, you might not see it because the lighter grey layer may already be creating a barrier underneath. Okay, let's have a look at that and see what happens. Yeah, we may have already created a barrier. Well, we will see, we will see. Okay, so let's take that colour again and drop some more on here. And then we'll put that piece to one side, and then we'll have a go on this one. Because it's got kind of black on the front, because it's printed on the other side, that black should mask everything else. In theory, anyway. So let's bring that around there. In theory, a lot of things should happen, but they don't always. So best laid plans and all that doesn't necessarily work out that way. Okay, so let's just flip that over and see what happens. Now we see, I don't know whether the camera's picking that up or it might be a little bit too bright, but there is colour coming through. There's definitely colour coming through. And I can see where I've missed where his lips are, sort of. Okay, so while we've got that on, let's grab that Wimberry pie, because this is darker, and while it's still a bit wet, let's just grab some and see whether we can persuade that to show up a little bit. Like I said, not really sure whether this is going to work or not. Okay, so we've got that darker colour, so I'm going to go over the ear over here, the ear over here. Okay, so we need to let that dry. I need to get this lot cleaned up, tidied up, and then I'll be back. Okay, so it's all dry. It is kind of subtle. Some of it you can't really tell. So we're going to press on. But like I said, you never know. So let's just grab that green, and then I'm going to I've grabbed another paintbrush, so this time we're going to go over the hair. Just paint some of those curly locks with that green. I know know the colour palette is a bit wowy and a bit weird, but it's a bit Andy Warhol, which was what I was kind of going for. So Mr. Bentley's back with his chewy. Hello, you. So I'm just painting behind the lighter, whiter areas. I'm hoping maybe that green will be a bit more visible, but like I said, if it isn't, it's no great loss. We'll just learn that it doesn't work, but it also might give us an idea of how we can do it differently in the future. With a few tweaks and modifications. We may have to learn how to reverse do things, because it's a bit like working with a jelly plate, if you know what I mean. You've got to think about your first layer is going to be the one that you see, and then you work up backwards. Doing it this way may be exactly the same. So let me just dry up. I see, so the green's showing through a bit more than that pink, but that's probably just because of the shade that it is. Okay, so let me get this cleared up, get these dried, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got all my pieces. They're now all dry, so I'm just going to pop them to one side. I'm going to work on the background. So what I'm going to do, I haven't gessoed the background or anything, so I'm just going to take some of the green paint, and I'm just going to paint it into the background. Just really kind of rough. I'm going to do the green at the bottom, just like so, and then I'm going to get the orchid, and we'll drop some of that down there. Now I'm aware that green and reds normally make a browny colour, but that's fine. Oh, he says throwing paintbrushes everywhere. So I've got a second brush. I'll bring that down until it starts to meet, and then I'm going to go backwards and forwards into the green and then back into the pink. And we'll just blend until we get a bit of an ombre effect, and then we'll leave it at that. Okay, so I've got these two brushes now, which I didn't bring any water in, so I'll leave that to dry, and then I'll go clean these brushes, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so my background is pretty much dry, so I'm just going to come back in with the white gesso, and I've got an acrylic sponge. I'm just going to pick up some of the white gesso, work it into the sponge, and then I've got this Harlequin stencil from the Crafter's Workshop, and I've had this for many years. So I'm just going to quickly just kind of go around and break up some of that colour with the gesso, and I'm just going to go lightly in areas. I'm not going to go mad, he says, and then he always goes mad. Maybe just a little bit more up there. I'm not going mad, he says. Just kind of diffuse it. And then again, maybe down here. That'll do, that'll do. Alright, okay, so get that dried. Okay, so those harlequins are now dry. I'm going to come back in with that darker purpley colour, the Wimbury Pie. And I'm just going to grab a little bit onto the worktop, just like so. And then somewhere I've got a water bottle. He says, because we had a tidy up, didn't we? Yes, we did. Just add some water. And then I'm going to do some darker purpley splashes. Just to add a bit of grunge and chaos kind of into the background. That'll do. So let me just show you what I've done. There we go. So a little bit of chaos and splattering into the background. Not gone super heavy with it. So again, as I've said many times, I'm just trying to grab a wet wipe. As I've said hundreds and hundreds of times before in videos, when you're doing projects for art journaling and you're using paint, 90% of your process time is drying, and this one's no different. Okay, as you can see, my heat gun, or maybe you heard, my heat gun is pretty much on its last legs. So I'm now going to glue and stick this down into the page. I'm going to use matte medium. So the beauty of this is, because we've used acrylic paint, I can use matte medium and it's not going to affect the paint because it's not water reactive. So let's put some down, give it a good daubing, and then I can position where I want David to go, kind of in the middle, and then I can just start going over the top. And of course I am going to get a few wrinkles, but that's okay. Let's get some more down. This may take a couple of goes. Tracing paper doesn't necessarily absorb as well as tissue paper would. But them's the breaks. By the time I'm finished, he's going to look like an old David instead of a teenager. Because obviously it is Michelangelo's David is David, as in David and Goliath David. That's who he's supposed to be. It's a shame we've got that massive crease right down there. Can I rescue that a little? Maybe. There we go, just do a bit of plastic surgery on David. Right. It's going to be quite heavy with the old matte medium. Perhaps I maybe should have used a heavier gel medium. I wonder if that would have worked better. Don't know, because this is the first time I've worked with tracing paper in this way. Who knows? Interesting effect. I think it would have been a lot better if I'd been able to get rid of the wrinkles. Right, so I'm putting plenty down again. This time I'm going to go straight in, but I think I'm going to paint on the back. And let's see what happens there. Obviously it's going to start to roll and curl, but providing I get to line up properly, we should, in theory, get plenty on this side. And then get that smaller piece of his ear. Okay, so we should now be able to position this just about. Get the line up right. No. Nip, 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 nip. About there. And then pull that across. Angle's not just right. But then again, it probably has stretched a bit as well. Don't mind if it's not 100%. There's a little bit of offset, then I don't mind that. But I think actually that's worked pretty well on that side. It's just the face that's horrible. Wrinklified, but let's just try and smooth some of those out. Yeah. Not perfect at all, but definitely Definitely interesting. Okay, let's see if we can get that dried off. Okay, managed to get it dry. Mitigate as many of the wrinkles as I possibly can. He's obviously got a few down his face, but that's fine. I don't mind that at all. And I'm kind of happy with the way that the colour is just showing through, and the fact that I've flipped the colours top to bottom. So the green in his hair mirrors the green at the bottom of the page, and then it flips as you go towards the top, and then you've got that pinky kind of purpley orchidy colour coming down the side of his face. The white of his eyes have stayed white, which is perfect, which is exactly what I wanted. So not too bad of an experiment. So all I want to do now, just to finish off, is just to add some handwritten scribbly text, and all I'm going to write down the side here is all art is experimental. And that's it. So I'm just going to use a biro pen. So, and I'm going to do it quite scribbly. There we go. And then just down here at the bottom, I'm going to sign it. And I'm going to put today's date, which is Monday the 24th, but you're going to be watching this on Wednesday. So the last thing that I need to do, just to finish off, is just lift up my page. I said I've not stuck it down completely and utterly. There we go. Just turn it over, grab some glue, and then I can stick the mood board on the back. Covered up the hole. There we go. Glue. Love it. I don't like glue because it's sticky. I know. Work that one out. Here, dear. So that can then go on the back, so that I can look back in months to come and I know what the inspiration was for that mood board. So that's now on the back of David. And I like it. Even though there's some wrinkles in it, I still like the way it turned out. So I hope you've enjoyed watching me create my version of the project using Bee's mood board for February. Don't forget, there'll be a clickable link in the description area below, so you can pop across to watch Bee's version and also watch Gina's version, and then from there you can hop over to the others and do a little bit of a video hop. So there's also the ArtsyTrio Facebook group where you can also join in and have a go at the mood board and share what you create using that as your inspiration. So I hope you enjoyed watching mine. If you have, please remember to give the video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of the video. That's all from me for now. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye for now. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. Thank you.